Hello and welcome to episode 161 of the Podiatry Business Podcast. My name is Lorcan O'Donaile. I am a podiatrist, a business coach for podiatrists, and also the owner of Podiatry Patients on Tap marketing agency for podiatry clinics. So today's podcast title is how to turn SMS into a patient booking machine. What if I told you that for every £1, $1, €1 that you spent, that you could make 16 back automatically without actually having to do anything once it's up and running? What if you knew that you could go to the casino or the bookies and every time you spend $1, you're going to make $16 back, no matter what? You would keep going back, wouldn't you? Well, this is what SMS can do for you if it's implemented into your clinic correctly. I'm going to show you how to do that. So in my own clinic, what I have done in the past is I use Clinico. And anyone in the UK or Australia, etc., will be well aware of Clinico. And I use Clinico and I used SMS, rebooking, reactivation as part of it. And when I first started to use it, and I'll go through that in a moment, what I found is I wanted to measure my ROI, because in one of my rules for marketing and rules that I use with my clients is that you always know how much you've made from how much you spent, and you can do it accurately, that you actually, it's not just a guess, but that you can tell, well, these people came from that ad and therefore they spent this much, therefore I know my ROI. And when I did that, what I was finding, and my clients the same, is that I was making 16 times what I was spending on SMS. Now, most clinics don't really use SMS properly, if at all. If they use them at all, what they'll do is they might use them to say, hey, you've got an appointment tomorrow. If you need to cancel, text me back, which is fine. It's better than nothing, but it is leaving money on the table. Because what you want to do is you want to use SMS to reactivate your database, and also for outgoing lead generation, or lead conversion, I should say. So if you get a lead, someone's not a patient yet, how can you get them to say yes to an appointment, and so forth. Now, why I love SMS is email is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, 100% email is fantastic, and I would use it all of the time, and I use it for my clients. But email has about a 20%, 30% open rate, whereas SMS has a 95 to 98% open rate within 5 minutes. So it has the potential for an immediate response for anything that you do using SMS. And patients typically prefer to get their messages through SMS. Now, when I say SMS, it could be SMS typically, or it could be WhatsApp, etc. Throughout this, but I'm going to use shorthand of SMS. So because people prefer it, patients prefer it because it's quick, it's easy, it's not big long conversations, etc., and it's so easy for them to reply. The other thing is there's less competition in an SMS inbox. So if you text somebody when they're in their inbox looking at your message, they're not going to get distracted by something else on Facebook or something else on Google and so on. So for me, SMS almost trumps every other type of communication you can have with your patients or potential patients. Now, SMS has three kind of really good powers. The first is engagement with leads, potential patients. So if you get a new patient, how can you help to convert them to become that new patient? And SMS can do that, especially if you use AI and with SMS. Secondly is making sure that you get that patient to turn up to the appointment, because you've got them to book the appointment. You want to make sure to turn up. That's the second power of SMS. And the third power would be post-appointment follow-up. So reactivation of those patients once you've finished with them. So a patient might come in for a number of weeks, you've solved a problem, and what you want to be able to do is reactivate them in a few weeks, few months, etc. That is they're the three superpowers that I would think SMS has. So let's talk in a little bit more detail about the first and the latter. So the first is somebody that you've spent money getting into your campaign to become a lead, and they've given you permission for you to have a conversation with them and get them to book that appointment. And what you want to do is you want to be able to get them to open whatever message you do. So if you use SMS, we know at this point you're going to have a 95-98% success of them opening and reading your message. And if they respond to the message, if the message is constructed properly, you want to make sure that you're able to respond back to them pretty much immediately. Because if it takes you 2 days or a day or whatever, if they text you on a Saturday morning, you're not going to get back until Monday. By that stage, their lead has gone cold. And this is where AI can come in. So what we do for our clients is we have AI basically have that conversation through SMS with the patient and book them in. And I've discussed this before. You can train the AI bot to be specific to the type of questions that are appropriate and the answers that are appropriate to your clinic. So some clinics will have XYZ appointment costs or charge XYZ and so on, and the bot can cover all this when you train it properly, which is what we do for our clients. So SMS combined with AI means that you're able to communicate with patients, or leads I should say, to get them to triage them, to answer their questions, and then to give them links and get them to book that appointment for you even while you're closed. This is the power of SMS. If we look at post-discharge, so reactivation of it, you're going to use the same concept. And what you're going to do is you're going to again have AI involved to make sure you're never missing any replies that you get. But what you want to really do is you want to make sure that you have a follow-up system in place that reactivates them long term, so that when they're finished with you, that maybe they're going to take up another offer that you give them. It could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be their husband that would be appropriate for, and so on. So we have the pre-becoming appointment to convert them, we have making sure they turn up, and then obviously we have the post finishing with that patient, because your database is such an important asset to your business. And research tells us that it costs you 14 times less to get a past patient to come back than it is to get a new patient. And what we typically do as business owners is we don't focus on our past patients, we focus on getting more new patients. So when we start working with a client in our marketing service, we go straight to reactivating their database, because it gives them an influx of cash quickly, which they can then use to start to get use on paid ads to generate more new patients, and so on. Okay, so you've seen now at this point the reason that you should be using SMS and how you can make it even more powerful if you use AI. AI bot that's going to text back your patient for you. But you want to set up your system, and what kind of software should you use? Well, there's loads of options out there. I'm going to tell you about the journey I've used in my own clinic. So in my own clinic, I used Clinico, and Clinico would give a automatic text reminder, you've got an appointment tomorrow, and so on, that kind of stuff. And then there was an app called Clinic Apps, spelled with a Q, Clinic Apps. And when you combine those two together, what you were able to do is to set up reactivation campaigns, so that you could then have that patient long term. Reactivated. Now, just in the last few weeks, Clinico has now launched a new system where you don't need to do that. You no longer need Clinic Apps, so you can do that within Clinico. But there are lots of alternative systems, and whether you're using Nucal or Jane or whatever system you're using, if you're in the States, maybe it's ModMed, there are alternative systems out there. So in our marketing service for our clients, we will plug into their system our software systems, our campaigns and our flows, where we're having SMS is sent out routinely to reactivate their patients, and then the bot is going to take over for any conversation. It's going to triage, it's not going to miss any calls, it's going to book them in. And what you want to make sure is you think about what kind of timing do you want for this. So it might be the case that if somebody comes in for typically a chiropody appointment and they haven't rebooked, say, in 4 months' time, you might send out an automatic text to say, hey, I haven't seen you in 4 months, how are you getting on, and so forth. And then you're trying to encourage them to book in. Maybe if it's biomechanics or orthotics, it might be a longer period of time. It depends on your clinic, it depends on your flow and what works best for you. But all of this can be set up with the timing done correctly, and it can be done in an automated fashion. In the system that we provide for our clients, we give simple triggers where you just add a little tag if you need to, and that patient will just be reactivated as and when needed. Now, it's important that you make sure that you are compliant with the laws in your area. For example, here where I am, it's got to be GDPR. In the US, it's got to be HIPAA compliant. And the systems we do are that, but you also need to make sure that you're doing so. And primarily what you're looking at is that you've got permission from the patient to do so. That's hugely important. Now, what you might have to do is like different types of messages, or what you should be considering is different messages for different patient types, not just the same thing. Now, just doing the same reactivation for all patients is better than not doing them, but the more bespoke you are for different types of patients, the better. Obviously, certain message templates will work better than others. You want to speak in a normal manner. You want to make sure that it isn't too long-winded, that you have a clear offer of some description. It might be a very soft offer, or it might be a harder offer, depending on what you're looking to do. And you want to have a really clear call to action. You're literally telling them what to do. Text me back, click on this link, ring me back, etc. So you get the gist. Now, this is where we come and we get really cool. If you have what we call the AI voice and AI SMS combo, then what will happen is you can really skyrocket this system. So what will happen in this is, rather than have AI voice just call, because I don't know about you, but if AI voice calls me, I'll just hang up. I don't want to talk to them. So what will happen is the SMS and AI SMS will have a conversation with that person, patient lead, etc. And if necessary, if it feels it's appropriate and it's trained to do so, it will ask, do you want to speak to someone? And if they do, then AI voice will then call, having said, I'm going to ring for this number. By doing so, what you're doing is you're eliminating people not picking up the phone because they don't recognize the number, because you've warmed them up with SMS, AI SMS. You've then told them who's going to call, that you're going to call, and you've given them a number, and then you do so. And then the same thing happens. You're going to triage the patient, you're going to answer the question, and encourage them to book that appointment, which is what you're looking to do, all automatically while you're doing something else. And last thing we do then is we plug into that what we call the infinity sequence. So an infinity sequence is when you get somebody and you put them into a workflow or into a campaign where you're going to follow up. Now, what you don't want to be is annoying. It's got to be something that's useful to the patient. But you plug them into that campaign, and it might run for 6 weeks or so on. And then you want them to come back out and go back in again. So an infinity campaign, for example, in my clinic and in my clients' clinics that we're building at the moment, is that we will plug them into a campaign which, depending on the type of appointment and depending on the type of condition, subsequent to getting treatment, they will get texted on maybe a monthly, or it could be a bi-monthly sequence. And then once they come back out, they'll go back in. So once you've set it up, it will run forever until you literally go in and say, stop, don't send that to that person anymore. We call that an infinity sequence. Likewise, you can do the same thing with leads that have not converted. Set it up, let it run, and it will follow up with them forever until they tell you they don't want to, or they book in. So common pitfalls I see that you need to make sure you is that your messaging frequency isn't wrong, that it's not too often in the wrong place, or that it's too far apart because people won't remember who you are. You need to make sure you haven't got the content, any mishaps, that you've done the content correctly, and that you set up the system as cleanly, as simply as you can. Avoid complexity and try and make it as easy as you can for you to manage. And ideally, if possible, set it up in a way that you never have to go back and do it again, that it runs itself, which is what we do for our clients. So if you're not using SMS in your clinic, never mind even AI voice and AI SMS bot, if you're not using SMS, start today, have a look and see what system are you using that you can implement some SMS to reactivate your patients, to get leads to say yes, and it will make a massive difference to your business, and it will start to help boost your patient numbers, your diary, fill your diary more, and give you more profitability. So I hope that helps. If you want to talk to us here at More Practice Profits about helping you, or if you want to talk to us about your marketing, we'd be delighted to talk to you. Go to our website, morepracticeprofits.com, or if you want a copy of my latest book, free copy PDF, go to podiatrypatientsontap.com and get a copy of my book, Podiatry Patients on Tap, where I give you much more detail, much more information on marketing that you can apply in your podiatry clinic today to start to build a better business. So until next time, this is Lorcan O'Donaile, podiatrist and business mentor, signing out.